I could blast the New York Giants today. They took a quarterback at number 6, who I do not think is good enough to be a quarterback at number 6. And I'm listening driving in today, and everybody is saying, well, the only reason they drafted Duke quarterback Daniel Jones is because the Duke coach is friends with Peyton and Eli Manning, and that is true. That is not why I'm going to blast the New York Giants. I don't have a problem listening to Peyton Manning ever. Peyton Manning is smart. If Peyton Manning tells you to do something, Bill Belichick would listen. Every smart coach. Bill Walsh would have listened to Peyton Manning. The late Bill Walsh, if Joe Montana would have talked back then. All great coaches. Andy Reid would listen to Peyton Manning. Sean Payton would listen to Peyton Manning. The best coaches ever would listen to Peyton Manning. So if Peyton Manning calls and says, draft him, I'm not going to beat you up for that. And this kid does play a little bit like Eli Manning, and he's given you 2 Super Bowls. So I'm not going to bang on the Manning family for this draft pick. Urban Meyer, Bill Belichick's friend, Nick Saban, Belichick's friend. He relies on his friends all the time. Friends, you listen to them in life. I'm not going to bash the Mannings for the Daniel Jones pick. Here's what I don't like. And it's not even just specific to this kid who I don't think is a high first-round pick, is that life sometimes gives you breaks. When I lived in Portland, Oregon, beautiful summers, wet winters, and springs. But occasionally, in the spring, you get a week of sunny weather. You know what you did? Got outside. When the surf's up, bruh, grab your board. It's not always up. Last year, the NFL gave you a break. It was a quarterback year. So the teams that needed a quarterback, the Giants, last year you take a quarterback. You had like 4 really good prospects. Baltimore didn't even urgently need one. They took one. Buffalo moved up. Jets took one. Cleveland took one. Cleveland had taken a bunch of quarterbacks. They're like, we can't pass on this. The NFL gave you a break. The Giants needed a quarterback, and they passed. This year, the NFL draft gave you a break. They needed an edge rusher, and it was a very rare year where there was a bunch of edge rushers in the top 6 picks. And take advantage of it again. Listen, man. When you live in a wet city and you get a break in the spring and it's sunny for a week, get outside, go for a walk, go for a jog. You don't get breaks like that. And another mistake, this draft today is actually the better day. This is not a draft with a bunch of great players, 7 or 8. It is a draft. Tonight's the 2nd and 3rd round. All the smart teams, the Colts moved their picks to today. The Patriots got picks today. The Seahawks moved out, picks today. This is a draft today for all the real smart guys in the league is where you want to be. What did the Giants do? 3 picks in the 1st round. What the hell are you doing? You don't want 3 picks yesterday. The Raiders had it. The Giants had it. What you want is picks today because this draft had a bunch of good players, very few great players. I mean, Nick Bosa's a great player. Quinnen Williams a great player. Kyler Murray could be a great player. Josh Allen, Ed Oliver. You're looking at guys who could be, Andre Dillard, could be great players. Today, 70 really good players. 80. So don't blame the Mannings. That's what drives me nuts. 3 other issues. Dave Gettleman said when he drafted Daniel Jones, he could sit for years. Really? Who uses a number 6 pick when you need all sorts of defensive help? Pick an offensive guy to sit. You're paying him like $25 million. You need guys who can play. You watch Carson Wentz. You watch the Cowboys' offensive threats. You may need a pass rusher. I just don't like the idea, number 1, of Dave Gettleman saying, yeah, we picked a guy at 6. We'll pay him a bunch, not play him for 2 years. Okay, good division. I don't like it. Secondly, MetLife Stadium is windy. Philadelphia on the road is windy. Washington, D.C. is cold and windy. You ever seen that Philadelphia Stadium? It's by a river. Potomac in D.C., cold, wet, windy. The Hudson, windy, cold, rainy, wet, winter. This guy's got an average arm. His best comp, the guy he most looks like in the NFL, is Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan went to a prep school, not highly recruited, went to Boston College, average arm. But Atlanta liked him because he could play indoors 8 times a year, indoors in New Orleans, and Carolina and Tampa are warm weather cities. So Matt Ryan wins 2 out of 3 games in warm weather, indoors, dome. You know what his record is outdoors? 500. You know what Matt Ryan's record is in like bad weather? Under 500. So I don't even like the fit here. And the third thing is, Dave Gettleman said several times, the GM of the Giants is, hey, you do not draft for need. You just draft best player available. So you're telling me that Daniel Jones is the sixth best player in the draft? Come on, bruh. Sam Darnold, he was the sixth best player in last year's draft. Daniel Jones is not the sixth best player, so now you're a hypocrite. You're saying one thing and doing another. I'm not bagging on him for the Manning connection. I'm not going to do that because this league is about connections. Andy Reid's tree and Belichick and you know, the late Bill Walsh and Parcells and Bill Polians and the stewards, Sean Payton and Belichick, and they've all got trees. And you're always talking and trusting a handful of guys. That's okay. The Manning connection doesn't bother me. If Peyton Manning calls Dave Gettleman and said, I've had this kid at my camp 2 years, I really like him. And he's the kind of kid, he reminds me a little of Eli, although I do not think he has Eli Manning's arm talent. Eli's first 7-8 years in the league, I thought Eli had a really nice gun, a really nice arm. But, man, life just doesn't give you breaks like this. The draft gave you a huge break last year. You needed a quarterback, and there was a bunch of good ones up top. And the draft this year, you needed a defensive end. It gave you a huge break. There was a bunch of them up top. You didn't take them. And then this year, the value's all today. And you don't have many today picks. But you had 3. You move up to get into this round. I don't think they know what they're doing. They have 1 pick tonight. 3rd round, 95th overall. Traded 2 second-round picks last night to move back into the first to take a corner. Who moved to the 2nd, 3rd round? Who moved it tonight? Colts. Chris Ballard, arguably best GM in the sport. Seattle. John Schneider, Pete Carroll, Super Bowl. Know what they're doing. Patriots already have a bunch tonight. All right, let me shift to this. I want to talk about the Packers. So I said this over the course of the last couple weeks, that Green Bay knew 2 years ago they were going to pay Aaron Rodgers a bunch of money. Seattle kind of got caught off guard with Russell Wilson demanding money, and here's the date. But Green Bay knew a couple years ago we got to pay Aaron a ton. And so Green Bay smartly started drafting all sorts of defensive players. Let's get cheap and expensive on the defensive side because we're going to pay our quarterback $35 million. So I thought, and it's just crazy. So last night, they even doubled down on it, and I thought they may go finally offense. Nope, they went Rashawn Gary, Michigan. Good player, injury concern, but good player. And a great safety out of Maryland, Darnell Savage, who's a big hitter. So now think about this. The last 9 top draft picks by the Packers. And that includes last year's first 3 rounds, 2017's first 4 picks, and last night's top 2 picks, all defense, 9 for 9 defense. And in free agency, 3 of their 4 signings were defense. So of their last 13 top acquisitions, 12 are defense. So Aaron Rodgers, we got you a new offensive coach. He's a hipster. And we've loaded up your defense. It's all over for excuses. Okay? Because there's been 2 excuses the last several years. McCarthy's a dope. All right, we got rid of him. And, defense, Aaron always has to save the team. Those days are over. By the way, there's always been a very weird stat connected to Aaron Rodgers despite his talent. How come he has so few fourth-quarter comebacks? Ryan Tannehill has more. Aaron Rodgers only in his career has 14. Isn't that remarkable? Matt Ryan's got 27. Joe Flacco's got 18. Andy Dalton's got 20. Ryan Tannehill's got 15. Aaron Rodgers has 14. What? Well. Last 11 years. That's all he's got. And the excuse has always been, the defense screws him over. They don't have any. That's actually not true. In fact, Green Bay hasn't drafted an offensive player in the first round since 2011. And oh, by the way, Aaron Rodgers is actually the last offensive skill player drafted by Green Bay in the first round. That's always been a fake excuse. That's always been a phony excuse. The truth is, Aaron Rodgers is not a great come-from-behind quarterback. Matt Ryan's got double the come-from-behind wins. And he hasn't always had a great defense. Andy Dalton hasn't always had a great defense. Ryan Tannehill hasn't always had a great defense. But let's stop the excuses for Aaron now. Because the 2 excuses were, the defense just can't. They have completely, absolutely 13 of their last 14 high draft picks or free agents of note, except for Billy Turner, the O-lineman, have been defense. And I like a lot of their picks. But don't tell me anymore they don't have good defensive players, because nobody misses that much. They've got plenty of good defensive players. And the myth that they've never given Aaron any good defensive players, go look at what they've drafted. They draft defense. His first pick. That's what they do. And so all the excuses now, the McCarthy, done. That we don't have any defense, done. Now, I like what they did. I'm picking them to win their division, but the excuses are now officially over. All in, no subtlety, no nuance. We are just going last 3 drafts, all defensive players at the top. There are 9 top draftees, last 3 draft. All defense. That's incredible. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.